Good morning, friends. Once again, I welcome you back to this class of video lecture. Friends, this is BA Part 1 English Literature, and we take up today paper 1. And today we take up a very famous poem written by Dryden, and the title of the poem is Shadwell. This is a famous satirical poem of Dryden. It was written in the year 1678. It was printed in the year 1682. It is a satire on Thomas Shadwell. So again, we all have to keep in our mind the term satire. Dryden and Shadwell were at a time very good friends. Their dispute started in the form of literary controversy. In his book of dramatic precise, an essay, Dryden praised Ben Jonson as a learned and judicious writer, but he added, "One can't say he wanted wit, but rather that he was frugal of it." Shadwell defended Ben Jonson's wit. Dryden returned to a close criticism. Shadwell, in his view, showed no understanding of true wit, and indeed no just appreciation of Ben Jonson. He wrote, "I know I honor Ben Jonson more than my little critics, because without vanity I may own I understand him better." This controversy is the basis of Mac Fleckner. Shadwell is portrayed as a literary dunce. Richard Flecknoe was an Irish Catholic priest. He was a dramatist and poetaster. He was universally acknowledged as a dull writer. He had praised Dryden clumsily in epigrams of all sorts. He has been chosen as Shadwell's poetical parent. It is to be noted that in the first edition of 1682, only Shad Shad was printed and not his full name. In the later editions, the full name appeared. So friends, this is a brief introduction of the literary conflict which continued between Richard Flecknoe and John Dryden. Flecknoe governed the kingdom of dullness and stupidity for long. He was its absolute monarch. When he became old, he wanted to appoint someone as his successor. Shadwell is selected by him as his successor. He is Flecknoe's perfect image. He is confirmed in full stupidity. So in this poem, Shadwell's and John Dryden's conflict has been well presented with the help of Flecknoe. So I read the poem first of all, the opening lines. All human things are subject to decay, and when fate summons, monarchs must obey. These are two opening lines which are very famous, often come as a quotation in competitive examination. All human things are subject to decay, and when fate summons, monarchs must obey. This Flecknoe found, who like Augustus Young was called to empire and had governed long. In prose and verse was owned without dispute, through all the realms of nonsense absolute. This aged prince, now flourishing in peace, and blessed with issue of a large increase, worn out with business, did at length debate to settle the succession of the state. So Flecknoe began to rule the realm of nonsense early in young life, like them Roman King Augustus. Having governed for a long time, he comes to know that everything made by man will get destroyed, devoured, decayed, that even monarchs have to undergo this fate. Flecknoe was now tired. He had a large number of poetical sons. He thought and discussed over the question of succession. He wanted to select the best of his sons who could rule over the kingdom of stupidity and who could wage continuous war with intelligence. He said, "Of all my sons, Shadwell most resemble me. He is mature in dullness from his early age. He is a confirmed fool. Others sometimes begin to talk sense, but he never goes away from the path of dullness and stupidity. He is a complete fool. His mind is always clouded with a fog of foolishness. Moreover, he is a fat man and looks as if he was created by God to be the king of fools. He is as thoughtless as the big oak tree that sends a long shade upon the plain and stands indolently. The poet says to Shadwell, "You are the last poet of the foolish repetition in different words. Heywood and Shirley were your forerunners to announce your coming. You surpass them in tautology." Tautology means repetition, time and again. So, Flecknoe, who was an Irish Catholic priest, he wrote a great number of poems, but they were fully dull and unimpressive, full of nonsense things. So Dryden calls him the king of the state of fools. He was enthroned in his young age. For many years there was no more dull a writer than he was. So he was the undisputed king of fools. Dryden compares him to the first Roman king Augustus, who was enthroned in an early age and ruled for many years. Flecknoe also ruled for many years. So Flecknoe wrote in prose and verse both. In both the fields, he was the dullest of his contemporary writers. There was no writer who wrote duller than him. He was the undisputed king of the kingdom of foolishness. For a long time, Flecknoe had been writing dull poems and dramas. He had no rival to challenge him. During these years, there sprang up a good many dull writers like Shirley and Shadwell. The poet calls them his sons. It was not easy to select the best successor. It had to be well thought and discussed. The main problem was to select such a writer who wrote much but never wrote any intelligent line. He had to fight continuously against intelligence by writing in dull prose and verse. Having decided, Flecknoe declared that Shadwell was to succeed him as the king of foolish writers. As the king of foolish writers, he argued in favor of Shadwell that he resembled him most in dullness, like him. He was dull from childhood. It was quite natural for Flecknoe to choose a successor who resembled in dullness as like him. As a poetical son, Shadwell's writing fully reflected the influence of Flecknoe. I again come to the poem. To settle the succession of the state I caught, and pondering which of all his sons was fit to reign and wage immortal war with wit, cried, "It is resolved, for nature pleads that he should only rule who most resembles me. Shadwell alone my perfect image bears, mature in dullness from his tender years. Shadwell alone of all my sons is be, who stands confirmed in full stupidity. The rest to some faint meaning make pretence, but Shadwell never deviates into sense. Some beams of wit on other souls may fall, strike through and make a lucid interval, but Shadwell's genuine night admits no ray. His rising fogs prevail upon the day. Besides, his goodly fabric fills the eye, and seems designed for thoughtless majesty, thoughtfulness, as monarchs walk that shades the plain, and spread in solemn state, spinely reign. Heywood and Shirley were but types of thee, though last great prophet of tautology. So Shadwell has been called here the last great poet of tautology. Tautology means continuous repetition. It means repetition of the same things in different words. It is one of the means dull writers employ to increase the volume of their books. So, in this poem, friend, Shadwell has been portrayed as a literary nuance in the poem, and he was fit to become the successor to the well-known dull Irish writer Flecknoe. Like Flecknoe, Shadwell also wrote voluminously. He wrote in volumes. All his writings are dull, meaningless, without any sense. They are full of tautology. He had little to give new and interesting matter to the readers. He repeated his dull matter from one book to another, and thus increased the number of his dull writings. Shadwell was not an ordinary type of stupid man. Generally, even the most stupid person has his moments of intelligence. In those moments, whatever he writes will be meaningful and interesting. Thus, ordinarily we find interesting passages even in the dullest writer. But Shadwell was an exception. He is a throughout dull writer with no relieving passages. Thus, he is fittingly called the king of dullards. So, friends, this is a sort of satire written by John Dryden, and we shall check the questions in the next class.